All right, so let's do a little mic check here. Let's see how long the delay is between you and me. Haynes with mic check
All right.
on the count of 10. Alan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. So I apologize in advance if I step over you. How you doing, by the way?
Well, I am almost all the way through Tiger King. If you haven't started watching Tiger King, you really need to. This is the thing that's breaking the internet right now. This is why we've had to throttle back bandwidth in Canada because so many people are watching this thing. I can't even begin to describe it other than the fact that it involves a guy, 227 tigers, his two husbands, a rival guy who has a whole bunch of big cats, a woman who wants to free all the big cats but is keeping her big cats to herself, murder, arson, and lesbianism. Oh no, there's it, and it's a reality show. It's an actual guy who ran for president and ran for the governorship of Oklahoma. It is so bizarre that you know I have no words. I really don't.
I read this earlier today that Cardi B is trying to free the Tiger King from his cage. So, of
Yeah.
course, thanks a lot, Cardi B. Spoiler alert, I was only on episode 1.
Oh yeah. Okay. Joe's in jail for 79 years. He says he was framed. He apparently conspiracy to commit murder. He wanted to hire a hitman to get rid of this woman for trying to shut down his zoo. And oh god, I'm gonna have to watch the
We
show all the way through a second time, the series all the way through a second time
I
just to pick up on all the subtleties.
I don't know if I can watch it, and it's largely because of the animal abuse component to it. Here he is, he's screaming that, these are animal rights crazies, but dude, you are literally raising tiger pups for the purposes of making money off them in
Yes.
what did she say in the first episode? It was something like, "These are creatures that are accustomed to, an incredible large amount of space."
What was
So,
it, 400 square
no
miles or
cage
something
is
like that?
big enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
No,
something
absolutely.
outrageous. So, yeah, so there's a side of me that gets really upset about the animal abuse component to it, but at the same time, if I rail too hard about it, somebody will go on Twitter and find a photo of Eric Reguly, formerly of the Globe and Mail, and me. He's holding a tiger cub, and I'm grinning like an idiot while I pet it because a guy who worked at the TV station I was at decided to bring in the buddy from the Bowmanville Zoo. You remember this guy, the guy who on live TV admonished and I think whipped an animal, and that was what shut down his roadside zoo. It took that out of all
No,
of this.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
the
did
Bowmanville
I,
Zoo's been shut down.
oh, I know it's been shut down, but I didn't realize it was as a result of that incident. By the way, so you're only on the first episode, so you haven't got to the second episode where, a zoo employee has her arm torn off.
No, but
Yeah.
my wife spotted this. She said, "That woman is missing most of her left arm."
Yes, she is. Why is that? Because she reached into the cage to pet a kitty.
And
I listen,
and this is
this
what you're watching?
I can't stop. It's like a dumpster fire car crash. I can't stop it. It's I'm actually yelling at the TV going, "Come on, this can't be true." Or "You're gotta be
Yeah.
kidding."
Oh, the one that got me, the zig when I expected the zag, was I found out that this uber redneck was gay. Did not
Yeah,
see
that
that coming
no. And
at
how many
all.
husbands did he have at one? How many husbands did he have?
Well, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, he usually had 2. One, well, I won't tell you what happened to one of them, but then he found another one online, and then oh, anyway, it's just again, the internet is breaking down because so many people are streaming Tiger King. And once you start, you'll understand why. You will not be able to take your eyes away from this because you cannot believe these are sentient human beings who theoretically have the same rights as every other Homo sapien. It's like, wow,
Uh,
just wow.
yeah, it certainly
Now,
opened my eyes up to the cornucopia of individuals that exist all throughout the United States.
yeah, now I should point out that a bunch of them do live in Florida, which again, if you live in Florida, you're probably just going, yeah. But Joe Exotic, the main guy here, the Tiger King, he's from Oklahoma.
Oh man. So while you were hooked on that, I was hooked on something completely different. I had told you that I was looking forward to just one thing of being under quarantine, and that's Half-Life Alyx.
Right. So you got
You
it?
want me to show it to you? I got it.
Okay, show me.
I finally put the time
We've got to get you out of here and up to the roof.
into
Working
figuring
on
this out. So here you are as the female lead, the 19-year-old Alyx, whose father is helping save the world from these aliens who have come down and enslaved humanity. There I've got the multi-tool, and there's sort of like puzzles within the game that you play. So here what I'm doing here is trying to hack into this security system by connecting all of the dots. And then once you get through, you move into the world where the aliens have brought with them these little crab-like creatures that have turned humanity into zombies when they land on your head.
Hmm. I hate when that
So
happens.
look at the graphics,
Oh,
the
Ooh,
animation, and the aliens
that's,
coming up to you.
that's graphic.
Yeah,
Oh,
it can be really quite graphic.
Look out.
oh,
And there's a guy down there about to
Look
get all
out.
blowed up real good.
okay.
The sound around this game is really quite remarkable, and I think that really plays a big role in why it's so immersive. This game, Half-Life Alyx, if you're not the geek that I am, the premise behind it is that aliens have come down, they've basically taken over, and they've let these little crab-like creatures go running through, and they turn humanity into zombies. They've actually gotten some of the humans to participate in the subjugation of humanity as well. Has sort of shades of Trumpism in it. And it's all in virtual reality and only in virtual reality. And this is the creepiest game I've ever played. And now I'm actually in it. So, like, as you're looking around, you're afraid to open that door for fear what might jump out behind you. You think I can get you to come over to the house once all this social distancing is behind us?
Damn it.
Oh God. Oh Jesus. Is that the crab thing there at the door?
Yeah. And if you open that door, it's going for your head, man.
Look at the size of the mouth on that thing.
Yeah. Enough to fit a human head. Oh, see?
Oh yeah.
Now-
Yeah. Okay. All right.
This has got a very
Yeah.
Stranger Things other world feel to it, doesn't it?
It does. I keep going back to the crab thing. I mean, that head is the size of a toilet bowl.
Yeah. And that's the thing about 3D and in VR is that it is about that size. If you can reach down and you can pick them up with your two hands and look at them. You can put them over your face if you wanted to once you killed one. But this is all an immersive experience. And this little thing off to the left here, that rope, that's not a rope. That's like a tongue. It'll suck you
Ooh.
up into the ceiling and eat you. So this is
there
the
it is.
creepy, ethereal feel of everything.
Crap.
Look at it.
Ooh. Ow.
Oh, and here's my favorite part is
Oh,
when certain
oh.
suckers are killed, whatever they've eaten will come out of their little mouth thing, and often it's a skull.
Oh, gross. Okay.
Have you had enough?
So, what am I watching here? Am I watching you actually playing this?
No, this is the
or did you
trailer.
record that? Oh, the trailer. Okay.
No, this is the trailer for the game. And the thing too is that the geek community is really upset because we have been waiting 20 years almost for a sequel to this Half-Life 2. This is not actually the sequel. It happens between episode 1 and episode 2. Just don't tell George Lucas about that sort of thing. And it is only available in VR. So all of these nerds who had waited almost 20 years for the sequel because it is one of the most powerful video games of all time were furious that they'd have to run out and drop, $500 to $1,500 on a VR headset to make it possible.
Well, that's what's happening. Technology is moving so quickly that you can't expect something. Nothing's going to stay the same. If you want the bleeding edge stuff, you're going to have to fork out more dollars. It's always been that way.
Mhm. Yep. And the thing is I forked out the big bucks. I dropped, I think it was $1,400 on what is called a Valve Index of VR headset. Valve is the company behind the video game as well, and they had teamed up
Mm.
5 years ago or so with HTC, the handset maker, the smartphone handset maker, to build a VR headset. And this is sort of the version 2 where they went on it on their own. And it is perhaps one of the most high-end VR headsets you can possibly buy. And I'm so glad I spent that money because it is an incredible experience. Also, on the topic of things to do while under quarantine, I pulled out the Thrustmaster steering wheel and plugged it all in to do VR racing again in the new VR seat.
I haven't been in your basement for a while, and it sounds like that you have acquired a whole lot more equipment than the last time I was there.
Yep.
I'm thinking that your basement now looks like some sort of mad scientist setup with all this gear that wouldn't be out of place in a Borg cube.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Largely because, well, no, you know what? Borg cube. I don't know if that's an accurate description because I put a lot of effort into trying to ensure that this technology doesn't take over the family room. So the sensors that have to go on the walls are embedded in the walls, so there's no cables hanging down or anything like that. And all of the cables attached to the VR flight seat that is also used for the racing car simulator, all the cables are sleeved, and they're sleeved not with the typical kind of sleeving that you get with VR geek with geek stuff, but with this weird kind of fabric. It's not taut. It's very loose and crumpled, but it looks exactly like the kind of cable sleeving they used for the Apollo astronauts when you saw them walking down the gangplank holding onto their briefcase with all the tubes coming out of it.
Yes.
So
Nice
yeah.
detail. Okay.
Right. So that wifey doesn't come downstairs and feel like she stepped into, the boys' room. I called her wifey again, didn't I?
You did. She doesn't like
I
that, does
found
she?
out on one of these live streams that she doesn't like that, and it was the first time I had
Mm.
learned that in the 15 years I've been calling her wifey.
Interesting. Well,
Mhm.
we'll edit this out in post.
Yes, none of this is making it into the actual show. You know what needs to make it into the actual show, though? And I was so looking forward to getting your take on this until I found out that you hadn't even watched the season finale of Star Trek
No, I
Picard,
did it. I did it today. I did it
and
today.
now
I saw
you
it.
have. Okay.
Yes.
So,
So
okay,
I
before
wanted.
we go any further, here's what I'm gonna have to do, is I'm going to have to, throw to Michael Hainsworth of the future in the edit bay to tell people who haven't watched the season finale how far they have to skip so that we don't spoil it for them. Okay, you ready? You have to
Go.
skip minutes to be able to skip through it. Okay, we're clear now. Go.
All right. So the whole series was a slow burn. There was a lot of character development, a lot of plot establishment for the first maybe 4 or 5 episodes. After then, it began to acquire a certain momentum that really sucked you in. There was a lot of thinking. I was always a big fan of the thinking episodes of Star Trek rather than the action episodes of Star Trek. But there was a nice marriage of those two, and it was good to see Jonathan Frakes and Martina Sirtis back. It was good to see Data back. And then when we finally get to the two-part finale, where they find this planet that is a haven for synths that the Romulans want to destroy because they're on a mission to destroy all synthetic life. Um, where there's a relative, let's call him that, of Data on the planet, and there's a couple of interesting sort of plot twists at the end. How far do you want me to go?
Well, we have to get to the very last episode here because
Okay, all
the
right. So
fact that Jean-Luc Picard died blew me
yes,
away.
yes. We knew that he was ill with some sort of brain malformation, and that there is a portion of the final episode where he is in some kind of pain or confusion as a result of this brain malady. He ends up saving the universe again. We won't go through how because it's kind of complicated. It involves a beacon and some ultra uber synths and some Romulans and what's his name, Riker coming to the rescue with the rest of the Starfleet fleet. But he does, I guess, the exertion of this final battle kills him. But fortunately, he's on a planet where they make synthetic life. And before he dies, they scan him. And then at the end, he returns, but as a 94-year-old looking synth that is as pretty close to real as you can possibly get. At the same
They
time,
made him.
he
Oh, sorry,
they
continue.
w- at the same time, he has an encounter in a very complex quantum reality with Data, and Data asks him to euthanize him, for lack of a better term. So what happens in this very final thing is that Picard dies, but is resurrected as a synth, and Data is killed by Picard by request. And I got to tell you, when Picard is doing his little eulogy for Data at the end, I got a little misty. I really did. But now we've got it set up.
Yeah.
We have a crew. We have a crew. We have a ship. We have a captain who has 10 or 20 years left because they, I guess, built some sort of self-destruct mechanism into his new synth body, so he will die at a regular time. And it's off we go into the universe to fight baddies.
You didn't think that killing off Picard and then bringing him back as a synthetic life form was
A bit of a cheat.
yeah, a bit of a cheat. And then they gave him the ability to be immortal, but chose not to.
Right. And
How
he
weird is
shrugged it
that?
off. Well, listen, if
But he didn't
I'm
want to be
94
immortal.
years old, well, he didn't want to be immortal, but even more so, he's 94 years old in the show. If I'm
Mhm.
94 years old and I have a chance to be resurrected into a new body, I'm not going to choose a 94-year-old body. I want to be a little bit more
Exactly.
healthy, a little more spry. So that was one thing that went like, really? And Picard just kind of like, oh, okay, I see what you did. Maybe that's in his
The thing
programming.
is
I
he's
don't know.
not really alive anyway.
Well, is
Who
he?
cares whether him
I
or
don't
not is
know.
immortal? Okay, so then this
Well,
creates the conversation. Define life, and can we define life as something that is inorganic?
but that's the whole point of this. The entire first series is what is life?
Right.
How is life created?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of life? What are the responsibilities of life? And when does life end? And who should end it? And how should it end? That's the whole underlying premise of the entire series. And I would imagine that we're going to come back and see that, examine that very existentialist philosophy in season 2.
But aren't we less attached to the character of Jean-Luc Picard now that we know he's not human, and therefore we're less likely to be concerned about him dying, blah blah blah. How many times did Data come back from from death, sort of thing? I just
Right.
fear
This
that what we've done is by killing him off, we've ensured that we don't have an emotional connection to him like we used to.
Well, this you bring up a valid point. Do you remember? Are you old enough to remember a Jerry and Sylvia Anderson Super Marionation series called Captain Scarlet versus the Mysterians?
No, the Super Marionation stuff was like
Oh,
dad stuff. Like that's an okay boomer
okay.
moment right
So,
there.
all right. So Captain Scarlet was this member of a space force that was looking to defend the Earth from the aliens, the Mysterians. And he was he was human, but for whatever reason, his body was infinitely regenerable. Does that make sense? He if he was injured, he would recover. And you know that no
Right.
matter how many times Captain Scarlet died or was terribly injured. Again, we're talking about a puppet here, so don't really uh, he, he would come back to life, except for one particular series, and I can't one particular show, and I can't remember which. But anyway, yeah, I see what you're saying. whenever we go forward with Picard, we know that well, if he is in any way harmed, well, they'll just send him to the repair bay and have him
Exactly.
fixed.
Send him to the garage.
Yeah,
Get the oil
yeah, or
changed
you
while
call
you're at it.
yeah, you call Jiffy and they'll send a repairman and they'll just plug and play. So I do understand that. I really do, and it'll be interesting to see if the fan base follows the series through with this new premise.
Uh, we got a here. I'm going to punch this up. I'm going to jump in on Sean, our ace director here. On this topic, Zappo Hisbane has pointed out two things. One, that you're doing your best Stevie Wonder impression when you're on the microphone. And two, that Star Trek tried to do the same thing with Data in Nemesis. So there is some precedent.
Yeah,
Do
if
you know
you
what he's
go
talking
deep
about? 'Cause I
into
don't know what he's talking about.
yes, no. If you go back into the 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 underlying premise of this entire Picard series, it does jump off from a storyline in Nemesis. Um, go it's quite involved, but if you go back, if you Google Nemesis versus Picard, you'll see what's going on.
Oh, I'm searching. You keep talking. Will you explain it?
Oh no, so I don't know if I can adequately. I I honestly don't. I would have to review it. Again, I was looking at some explanations of the Picard Star Trek Picard series as it related to whatever timeline we wanted to follow in the Star Trek universe. And it all comes back to some things that have been set up in Nemesis. And I think what I'm going to have to do, I think a lot of other people are going to have to do it as well, is go through some of the analysis that people are going to provide, uh, comparing the two and stringing some things together.
By the
Oh,
way,
did you
I want to
wait? You
specifically point out.
wait. Time out. Time. I just got an
Oh,
email from
what's
Jonathan.
our the guest who was supposed to be here who is not here?
Yes.
Yeah, he's having issues. Well, okay, we'll do
Okay.
the show without him. We'll bring him on another episode.
Okay,
We're
that's
not
fine.
gonna with 2 minutes left to go in the show, we're not gonna be debugging his Wi-Fi.
Okay, that's fine. Um,
Okay, so I do want to because we pulled back the curtain on the recording studio so that people can see how the sausages are made, to mix a bunch of metaphors. Let's go back to what Zappo Hisbane had pointed out, that you were doing your best Stevie Wonder impression. And I think it's
okay.
important that people understand why radio people do what you've been doing.
Yes. Okay. There are two different people on your screen. There is a TV person, there is a radio person. The TV person understands the importance of body language, gaze, facial expressions, and all that sort of stuff. The radio person doesn't give a shit about any of that sort of stuff. We're in a room with a piece of metal hanging in front of our face. And what we have to do is somehow just get the words out of our mouth. And it doesn't matter what we look like, it doesn't matter where my head is, it doesn't matter if I'm bobbing all over the place because it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. It's just two different habits of broadcasting. You're a TV guy and you're very good at being a TV guy. I'm very lousy at being a TV person. Anytime I've ever done TV, I'm super self-conscious about everything that I'm doing because now, in addition to what's coming out of my mouth, I have to think about where my body is in time and space at any given time. I'm not very good at that. Zappo.
It's funny because you're not the only one who does that. When I worked at CFRB 1010, which is now News Talk 1010, there was a sports guy who did it as well. And so when you started doing it, it didn't surprise me at all. But I would say about 1 out of every 5 radio guys I've ever worked with do that. His name's Vic Router. But the funny thing about Vic Router is that he would not use his hands when he was on camera, when he was on TV. They would be properly over the desk and he'd be doing the sports like this. But soon as he was on the radio, it was hand gestures upon hand gestures upon hand gestures. And you know who else really did a lot of that? Was your radio guy, Dick Smythe, Mr. Newsman.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you watched him do the news, he would do a lot of this the whole time.
And he used to explain that, saying that is how he got the performance that he got. He needed to actually move his body to make his voice sound the way it did to enhance his delivery. I'm not doing that right now. I am simply.
Although many people will benefit.
I think I want to see if I can find Dick's. No, damn! I just found a Dick Smythe video, but he's not whipping his hands around and stuff like that. Damn it! You usually get that with the Big Eight. That was that radio
Yes.
documentary. You remember that? They would show a lot of those guys acting that way.
Yeah,
Since we're running along at the show, do you want to move on to the GMP news update?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, let's do that. Time now for Geeks and Beats updates.
Well,
I want to say thank you to Steve. What's going on?
No, do you hear that?
No, I'm not hearing anything.
No, yeah, okay. You read. I'm going to go deal with the whining dog outside the studio door.
Okay. More shit we cut out of the show. Usually he's got the dog in the studio.
Well, no.
Is this schmooze?
Yeah, no, there's wires there. Wires. No. Okay. Sit down there and be quiet. This is Schmooze, the elder bull terrier. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Typically underneath the console. So when I talk and you stop talking, all I hear is snoring underneath you. Just like that. It's not revolting, is it? Is that what that is? I'm not quite convinced that that's what that is.
Anybody who owns an English Bull Terrier will recognize those as ecstasy noises. Oh, you know what? Right. Hey, Schmooze, you got a camera here. Come on. Come here. God damn it. Come on. There. It's heavy. There.
Hang on. Let's see if I can do that too.
Hey,
Liv, get in here. So to get mine to come in. There, come on. He's got his favorite. So I need you right here.
Why am I here?
Okay, there we go. All right.
There.
Oh, we got Schmooze. See, there's the doggo. And there's my girl.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
You. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so
all right. Well, Schmooze is going to stay here.
Sure you won't speak to me for another month.
Okay.
Jonathan's joined us. Do you have time to keep going? Okay, hang on.
Sure.
Let me plug Jonathan into this. Okay, so there's Jonathan. So now we should be able to hear again right there. Inputs. Let's make sure his audio works as well.
There we go.
Jonathan, are you with us? I can't.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think there's some latency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, so let's get into this then. This is going to be awesome. I'm glad you got your
if you guys still have time.
Yeah, there's a
yeah, we've got this internet issue.
Here's what we'll do: is in the event that one of us steps over you, just keep on talking. We'll shut up and you finish your thought, and then that'll give the other person the opportunity to jump in. And when we this is just raw recording, we'll actually edit it all for the proper podcast.
I see.
Move
okay,
on here.
Sounds good.
Bring it all up. Yeah. So this is sort of the behind the scenes kind of look at the whole thing. So we talked a lot about Alyx Half-Life Alyx leading into our conversation, just so you know where that came from. And my angle was that this what makes VR is not just the visuals, but it's the audio that really gives you that sense of immersion. So I'll give you a little introduction. I wanted to get some insight into what it takes to make VR immersive, so we turned to a production house whose work has driven the sound of Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy, among other games. Jonathan Rowden is the CEO of Overworld XR, and he joins us now. Where are you joining us from?
I'm actually in Brea, California. It's a North Orange County, just a couple miles from the Los Angeles County border, so southeast of downtown LA, about 40 minutes. Yeah.
He joins us now from just outside LA. Great to have you with us.
Thanks. Yeah, it's really awesome to be here. And sorry, it took me a while to get this set up. think COVID-19 got into our phone lines or something.
Exactly.
Got us a little screwed up.
So you've got Alan Cross, longtime radio music historian, understands the importance and value of sound. How does that
Hmm.
change for you when you're creating sound in 360 degrees?
Well, there's it just depends on the experience. I think with 360 sound, or what you would call, ambisonics, spatial audio is more of like a generalized, nomenclature over the whole, a vast sort of assortment of different audio formats. You're not only looking at the ability to listen to music or listen to sound in a way that's in 360 surrounding you, but you're also looking at opening yourself up to the possibility of having a virtual space to create those sounds within. Does that make sense? So it's not just the playback that's important, it's the creative process that's also important. And with the VR projects that I've been involved in so far, some of them have been one of them was sort of a tightly NDA classified project for a company called Madefire that makes comic books. So it was a comic book related project. And in that sense, we're trying to expand on the genre of comics, through VR and spatial audio. And then with another one that we did, it was a virtual reality film trilogy with a artist named Sutu Eats Flies. And in that project, we're trying to immerse the viewer in a way that's half game, half film. So I think this might be a little tangential to your actual question, but when we're looking at expanding into 360, we're looking at what is the best way to immerse the listener. Is it going to be through interactivity, or is it by trying to make a really realistic environment? Is it trying to create a totally surrealistic environment? But I think the bottom line is that when you engage more than just your visual senses, when you can engage those other senses, such as hearing, and your ear is in your head and your shoulders and everything involved with that, is what gives you a sense of space in general, when you're listening to everyday life. So when you can engage that sense, you have the ability to, whether for realism or surrealism, engage the gamer or the listener in a way that's just draws people in way more than traditional music making, I think. Does
So
that kind of answer your
are
question a little
you
bit? I'm coming from an artist
so
perspective, so
so are you mixing for headphones or for 5.1 or 6.2 or what?
Yeah, so basically, the format that I like to work in from the very beginning is called Ambisonics, and Ambisonics just means sound all around you. It's kind of a raw audio format where the sound is in a virtual spherical harmonics, around your head and around the room, simulated impulse responses and acoustics. And a good way to think of it is kind of doing like a raw capture of 3D, photos, right? But we're doing it with audio, where we're capturing everything around you. And then from that raw format, I can mix and decode to any other surround format. So from one master file, we can create the sound that will now be available from 5.1, 7.1, Atmos, quad, stereo headphones, and probably one of the more common use cases is stereo binaural, which is basically a simulation of doing a binaural recording in 3D space. So all of these terms might be brand new to your listeners. So what a binaural recording is where you have microphones essentially in the ears that are filtering the sound based on the shape of your head and your ears and your shoulders. And that acoustic information is then, given into the stereo recording so that you feel like you have 3D sound even with a simple pair of headphones. But yeah, we do all surround formats, for music and for games. And what I like to specialize in is actually making the music part of the environment, as opposed to just a soundtrack that's just blasting into your ears, right? Like, why can't we just make it where music is actually part of the scene, right? You hear birds fly overhead. What if instead of birds, it was the sound of a flute, or a piccolo?
Right.
So
Or,
how many
that
tracks
type
are
of
you
stuff.
dealing with? How many tracks are you dealing with?
That's probably the biggest to date was a project with, in one session was maybe about 95 tracks. which isn't unheard of, when you're scoring and doing things like that. But what's unique about this is that every track is a multi-channel track. So, normally when you produce audio, you're engaging with a mono channel, which is just one channel of audio in a track, or a stereo channel, which is two, left and right. But in this sense, we're actually dealing with, I usually deal with 16 channel tracks. So every track will have 16 channels.
Wait. Okay, so 95 times 16 is what we're dealing with?
I guess that's one way to look at it. So like a track is just a track of audio, right? So let's say I have a flute sound, but within that flute sound, there might be 16 channels of audio if I'm in third order ambisonics. And what that means is that that flute is not just a single piece of sound in one space. That flute is now inhabiting a three-dimensional space, and the sound reflects that, whether through acoustics or reflections, all those types of things. So it does take a lot of processing power. You have to it's crazy how good the technology has gotten now. It's, I got into this maybe 4 years ago. Before that I was mostly composing and playing as a saxophone artist, and with the dream of getting more involved in immersive tech. I'm a huge VR nerd and stuff. And when I started getting into it, the tools, even in the last 6 months, have expanded and changed so much.
So
it's just
you hit on something that was
by.
really interesting to me, though. I was particularly interested in you referring to the sounds in a game being more of a soundtrack than sound effects. Because when I come around the corner in my favorite game, whatever it happens to be, and the music crescendos, I know the big bad guy is right there around the corner. When I watch the TV show Survivor, the music changes as you get a sense of the tone of this discussion between two people. I can imagine those are very similar sort of experiences for you as a composer. You are trying to create an ambient soundtrack. How do you go about that without sort of giving it all away? Like, if I find out a little too early that the big bad boss is around the corner because the music tipped me off, well, then I'm not going to have the same kind of video game experience than if he handed my ass to me because I didn't have my gun loaded.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, I've been interested actually in adaptive, what you would call adaptive audio, where it's adapting to your place in the game or the moment in the story or the actions of the NPCs. I've been really into that ever since Metal Gear Solid 2, with and in that soundtrack, I remember reading in like PSN magazine back in the like late 90s, or early 2000s, I think at this point, that when they were creating the soundtrack for Metal Gear Solid 2, that there was something unique about that in the sense that you had like these different audio loops. Now, this doesn't have to do just with spatial audio. People have been doing this for a long time, obviously, where you have different loops and different pieces of the musical composition that get triggered at different times, in game audio. And also there's even plugins now that can add effects and filters and all kinds of things on those existing sounds and loops, depending on the context of the gaming experience. But see, when you start to take that stuff and make it spatial, it gets even more important, because what if, like I don't know, I'm big on foreshadowing in the game, and what if the sound came up that cued you like, oh, there might be danger around this corner, but what if the whole area had sounds, but kind of emanating off behind you to the left, you could hear like a sub bass frequency, that like subconsciously draws your attention over there. And I love that kind of stuff, because I think music, so many times people look at music as a static thing. Even if it's adaptive, it might still be static, but the more interactive the music can be, and the sound design and the sound effects. And what if all the sound effects are actually have been generated from the music itself? What if you took the drum sounds and turned those into the machine guns, and things like that? Like, the more interactive and immersive all of this can be, the better the experience in VR, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
See, I still remember all the 8-bit sounds that we used to get back in the day. Kind of moved on beyond that.
Isn't chiptune a thing again, though? Like, aren't we sort of going retro?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but with 95 channels and 16 channels embedded in each of those channels. Boy, that would be really annoying.
Well, actually, we're working on a couple of chiptune projects right now in Ambisonics, and one of my dreams, it's a kind of a dumb little pipe dream that probably wouldn't be that hard to do, is to create a VR experience where you have a Game Boy right in VR and you're listening to music, and you can actually load your Spotify playlist into the Game Boy, and then it will filter the sound and make it sound like it's coming out of a Game Boy speaker, right? Which is not actually hard to do. But then making that spatial, so it sounds like you just got this Game Boy listening to all your favorite albums. I think that'd be pretty awesome. But see, like, the spatial format, it's totally agnostic, to genre and style. I mean, you don't have to have a specific type of music, to be able to listen this way. And it doesn't have to just be in VR. I mean, it opens up music to be its own immersive experience, without ever having to even touch on a video game controller. Like, we're doing a podcast right now that's going to come out hopefully later this month, maybe next month. That's a fantasy story. And the whole thing is done in spatial audio so that you can, experience the story and, the emotions and the moments of the characters all in immersive
That
audio
I
format
want to
with
hear.
zero visuals. Well, I'll send you a copy.
Podcasting supports
Yeah,
that kind of audio surround?
Yeah, because again, what you can do is, like, even if we're dealing with a 360, array of virtual speakers, right, which is kind of what we're doing when I'm mixing this way, I can simulate a recording that happens in your own 2 ears in the middle of that sphere. This is called binaural rendering, essentially. And what you get is you get a headphone mix that when you put on a pair of headphones, you can hear the sound move above you a few feet, mostly all the way behind you. It's not perfect yet, but it does the trick. And if you're mixing for that format specifically, I think a podcast narrative is like the perfect thing. It's a serial. So, and we're drawing a lot of inspiration from game music, 90s anime, things like that for that project. But yeah, I'd love to share it with you and see
ties
what you
into a
think.
question that one of the listeners is asking about right now. Zappo Hisbane is asking for your influences or your favorite classic game soundtrack. What drew you in?
This is for me, or?
Yep.
Yeah, man, my favorite game soundtrack. When I was a kid, it was definitely Final Fantasy VI. There's just something about the characters. I think there's a lot of, and I didn't know it at the time, but a lot of inspiration from classical opera. There's leitmotifs and like recitatives and stuff. In between scenes, and characters have themes. Metal Gear Solid was a big influence on me growing up. Sonic the Hedgehog was probably earlier than all that. Toe Jam and Earl, Panic on Funkatron. Like some of the weirdest, most obscure stuff I was really into, and then, but yeah, I think in terms of when I really got hardcore into gaming, it was definitely, I was like a JRPG fanatic, absolutely. So Final Fantasy VII eventually took sway, and I just bought the limited edition vinyl records of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I was a
you're
little
the guy that
underwhelmed
bought
by the
them.
mixes, but I mean, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm like the one guy who bought them. No, but
It was Jonathan Rowden. He's the Chief Executive
$77.77. They
Officer
did that
of
right.
Overworld XR, and he joined us from just outside of Los Angeles. Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks. This was a lot of fun. So,
all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to unplug
yeah.
you here. You'll be free to go. We'll send you a link once it's all up and running, and it's amazing. Thank you again for your time and insight. Okay, I'm going to unplug him now. There he goes. He's gone. All right. So Geeks and Beats news updates. Let's get back to that. It was great that he could manage to show up and join us here at the end.
Got that sorted.
Yeah. We want to say thank you to Stephen Hulan, who is the newest member of the World's Worst Intern Program. You know what makes it the World's Worst Intern Program, of course.
Yes, you pay us to work on the program, and you do no work whatsoever.
Nope.
But
thank you.
Yes, but at the same time, we're legitimate. You can put this on a resume.
You could put it on your resume. Put it on your LinkedIn profile. As a matter of fact, Geeks and Beats podcast is an official company on LinkedIn. So we want to say thank you again, Stephen, for making that possible. A lot of patrons make it possible on a regular basis for us to be able to do this show. So if you would like to be a member of the World's Worst Intern program, as we have several interns to thank, 37 of them, as a matter of fact: Adrian Bashford, Alicia Sang, Antoinette Vanden Dickenberg, Craig Aiken, Craig Glassford, David S., Don Woodall, James Holmes, Jason Winterbottom, Mike McDonald, Roland Wood, among others. Thank you so much for helping make it possible. If you don't like Patreon and you prefer, say, PayPal, we've got an option for that too. So just go to Geeks and Beats, click the support the show link. You can even buy one of our miracle travel mugs of traveling, which keeps hot beverages hot and cold beverages cold using the power of science.
Can we do a little bit of accounting here? Can you tell me how far we are from recouping everything from Las Vegas?
We are probably about $1,500. That's just back of the napkin. I haven't done any of those numbers as of late, but
all right, well, it's at
this
least it's
episode of the
coming. That
podcast
number's
is
coming down.
supposed to be. Okay, so we didn't. This episode is by the way, brought to you by Odyssey. So I need you to do a.
Right,
Did
I
you
know,
get
I
the
got
email with all that? Could
Yeah,
you
I'm
give me
looking
that
at it
off
right
the
now.
top? Okay, go.
This episode of Geeks and Beats is brought to you by the awesome headphone maker Odysseys. I have a pair. I love them.
You like your Odyssey headphones?
I do very much.
Okay. All right. What else do we have to do here, or have we gotten through all of
Headlines,
the
that's it.
stuff? Headlines. Oh, right.
No,
Headlines. Stand
that's
by.
it.
Headlines. I'm going to put them in the chat.
In the chat. Okay. Messages closed. Here's the.
I took the earplugs out, so now I have to wait to hear Sean.
Did I finish my drink? Oh, I did.
We should also do a Q&A with those who have left questions here.
Okay.
Hey, was Data ever a starship captain?
No, he was always commander.
Okay, all right. Was he? Sean thinks.
Yeah, he was his fill-in. Yeah, he was, but he was never officially promoted. He was a captain, acting captain.
Yeah, and Otto, yeah, I'm using headphones, earbuds under my headphones because I've got our director Sean in my ear. Okay, I almost finished the headlines. Sorry, hang on, I got distracted. Clearly. All right, so there you go.
Okay, here we go. The future of virtual reality is audio.
We'll introduce you to Jonathan Rowden, the CEO of Overworld XR.
Star Trek Picard has gone to where no starship captain has gone before, really, and we're not kidding about that.
And we'll talk about my 20-year-old nightmare come true. Half-Life Alyx is here. All right, let's see if anybody's got anything they want to talk to you about, because I put out the all call.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got a question here. This is a good one. That hasn't come through our system yet. But Marty Steele has just asked you, how long until arena and stadium concerts or festivals are economically viable again after the virus? Do you think that is a 2021 solution?
I do. I took a straw poll on Twitter about that. And I said, is it going to be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or a year? And most people say it'll be between 6 months and a year before we're comfortable enough to appear in public with people again. This could bounce back too in the fall, as these kinds of pandemics are wont to do. So we may not really get back together in terms of going to gigs and concerts and festivals until 2021.
Zappo Hisbane is asking you, did Alan enjoy Death of Bunny Monroe? Noticed it in the background last week.
Oh, you saw the cover artwork. Yes, I did. This is a Nick Cave novel. There's also a Nick Cave audiobook, which I have on CD, which you can see over my shoulder. And I did, I have all this stuff, this Nick Cave stuff, because when that album came out, or when that book came out, I actually got to interview him. And I did it not only for the radio, but I did it for a live audience at a Chapters or an Indigo bookstore.
Oh, neat. Zappo, by the way, when it comes to whether or not Data was ever commanded a starship, apparently he got a battlefield promotion once.
Once. He was an acting captain once.
Right.
But if you watch
Okay.
Picard, if you watch Picard all the way through to the end of the show, the end of the series, you'll see that Picard addresses him as Commander Data. So he as when he leaves this plane, he is still a commander. No, I gotta go. I got a barking dog.
Yeah, that sounds like you got some trouble with the pooches. So that is it. Thank
I
you very
do.
much for joining us for the big
All
live
right.
stream, and thank you to our guest as well, Jonathan, for joining us from Overworld XR as well. Keep sending the comments. If you're not watching this live, you can in fact still comment, and we will still respond. And fire us off messages on Twitter and all that kind of stuff as well. But all of this gets packaged up. A lot of it gets cut out and then turned into the big show for the Wednesday edition. Season 7, episode 343, dude. We've done twice the number of episodes that I think Seinfeld has done.
I think we have. Well, no, yeah. As a matter of fact,
Say
179
goodbye.
episodes. Yeah, we win. We win. Bye.
Catch all new episodes of Geeks and Beats Wednesdays on iTunes and watch for Geeks and Beats magazine on a newsstand near you. To be part of next week's show, call area code 323-319-NERD. Follow the stories on Twitter, Facebook, and get your dose of Geeks and Beats anytime at geeksandbeats.com. The Geeks and Beats podcast would like to thank the National Science Foundation.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.